word has caused stress chemicals to be released in your body. And me saying no has released even more stress chemicals in your body and in my body. That's what the word no can do. And imagine if you're hearing no, 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 no all day long. How stressful you will be as a result of not only hearing it, but saying it. So we're not going to encourage you to not say the word no ever again in your vocabulary, but the objective of today's workshop is to tell you about the powerful impact of negativity in the workplace, including the language that we use, and what you can do about it. Most importantly, if it's your own negativity you're experiencing, and if you are supervising people who are engaging in negative behavior. We won't call them negative people, we will say they are engaging in negative behavior. See, that's more positive already, right? Yeah, that makes me feel better about the whole thing. So here we go. Maybe. Oh, Kelsey. Kelsey's not there, great. Nothing's happening. Okay, so you have the, well, hold just for a second. Kelsey,
She just took a call.
it's not working. There it is. What happened?
It was off.
It was off. Yeah, see, that's why we need 20-somethings in the workplace so they can turn things on for us so that they will work. All right, there we go. So the thing is that all of us are negative sometimes. And there's a very good reason why we are negative sometimes. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you at this point is I don't like it when I go to presentations and the presenter reads to me what is on the slide. I also do not like it when I go to presentations and the presenter is talking and I'm trying to read the slide and I can't do both at the same time. So I'm choosing the lesser of two evils. I'm going to read the slides to you, okay? And hopefully you'll see how good my reading is at this point. I went to public school, so I'm not sure. All right, so we're all negative sometimes. And the reason for that is that the brain reacts more strongly to stimuli it finds negative. Our attitudes are influenced more by gloomy news than good news. So part of the wiring of our DNA is that we are susceptible to negative stimuli, and we're going to be more impacted by negative stimuli than we are positive stimuli. We're going to notice it more, and it's going to affect us more. We're going to feel more about the negative stimuli than we do the positive stimuli. Any ideas why? That was not a rhetorical question. Actually, that was audience participation time. So any ideas why? All right, well, let's go to the next slide. This is why. Our capacity to weigh negative input so heavily most likely evolved for a good reason, to keep us out of harm's way. From the dawn of human history, our very survival depended upon our skill to dodge danger. The brain developed systems that would make it unavoidable for us not to notice danger and thus hopefully respond to it. So at the very beginning of our existence, we had this little tiny itsy bitsy part of our brain, and then it evolved over time. But that little itsy bitsy part of our brain makes us want to survive. That's our most basic instinct, is to survive. And so anytime negative stimuli comes around, we feel that we are in danger. And so the DNA kicks in and it says you must be able to survive, so you must notice this kind of stuff. So we are all negative sometimes. Why? Because our survival depends upon it. And we don't want that to go away. And as a matter of fact, there was a gentleman who had been in law enforcement for a long time, and he wrote a book about the fact that you never want that little fear to go away that something might be happening. You always want to be a little on edge with people that you see and things around you and that kind of thing, to think that it might threaten you, because that natural instinct, that gut feeling that says you might be in danger, is usually right on. And it's your DNA, most primitive part of your brain kicking in to tell you that, so don't ignore it. All right, so negativity becomes a problem when it becomes a lifestyle. And I don't know if this is your attitude about life, but you might know people that is their attitude about life. And if they work for you, if you supervise them, you must do something about it. And the reason you must do something about it is because that negative attitude impacts other people in your organization. And it brings down productivity and creativity, and it creates more absenteeism and turnover. And so this philosophy of life cannot exist in your workplace. And if it does, you need to do something about it. So, now why are some people so negative? We know that we're all negative sometimes, but why are some people so negative? Well, one of the things that scientists have discovered is there's a little gene in our DNA. It's the little negative gene. Your parents might have passed it on to you, and if they did, I want you to blame them for your negativity. I like to blame my parents for things that are wrong in my life, including my DNA. So those of you who don't know me, I have different colored eyes. This one is mostly brown, this one is blue. And I was born with blue eyes, and when I was 2, I developed a brown spot in this one that grew almost all the way to the top, but not quite. How did I get different colored eyes? My father. It's in his gene code. And it's called multichronism, and it is a genetic code that is passed down through his family. And I've got 3rd and 4th cousins all over the place who also have different colored eyes. So if you are more prone to negativity, chances are you've got it in your DNA. There's a genetic gene that has been identified by researchers. All right. Why else are some people so negative? If you have taken a psychology class once upon a time, you are probably familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I have had people tell me, oh, Maslow's is outdated. I don't care. I love Maslow's. It explains a lot of stuff. And so this is one of the things it explains. Maslow was a psychologist, and he said that people are needy. They're walking around trying to have their needs met by other people all the time. In fact, that's why we communicate, is to have our needs met by other people. Now, a woman named Fran Furter, not Frank Furter, but Fran Furter, who was a nun and then a psychologist, so you can imagine how insightful she must be. She came along and added to that theory and said, if people's needs are not met in childhood, they will most likely be forever trying to have those needs met. And they will do so in a negative fashion that does not inspire anyone to meet their needs. So first, Maslow said we have physiological needs. We need to eat, we need to breathe, we need to sleep. And if we don't get those things when we are children, especially the eating part, yeah, I know you're laughing at the sex part. I just skipped right on over that, but you can go ahead and get a chuckle out of it if you want to. If we do not get enough food as children, guess what happens as adults? Always trying to get filled. And I have a very good friend who told me that. He said, I get anxious when my stomach rumbles and indicates I'm hungry, because it takes me back to my childhood when we did not have enough food, and then I end up overeating in order to quell that anxiety. There you go. That's how it works. So once those needs are met, if they are met, we start worrying about safety and security needs. And so one of the things that researchers have uncovered is that children of divorce sometimes suffer from this need not being met in adulthood also, not feeling safe and secure in one home. And so often sometimes have problems connecting with other people as a result of that. Or the opposite, become too clingy as a result of that. So once again, you can blame your parents if that's your deal. I want to stop right there, and I want to tell you a little story about my mom, which illustrates this point very nicely. My mom is 74 years old and still waiting tables at the Black Angus. If you go there and an older version of me waits on you, that's who it is. So be nice to her, please. The reason she is still waiting tables is because she and my father are from the generation that you need to be useful and you need to be doing stuff. And so my dad's 78. They never plan to retire. They plan to work until they drop dead. And we're just going to bury them wherever they land. So we'll see where it is. So 74 years old, she does not need to work in order to pay the bills. They can pay the bills. They're fine. However, As a child, she did not come from a stable household, and there was not enough money to pay the bills. And then she married my father shortly after she turned 18, and they promptly had 4 children they could not afford. And still, it was a tough time paying the bills. Yeah, I'm the baby. So until she got into about her early 40s, there was not enough money to pay the bills. And so at 74 years old, she's still working because she wants to, mostly to have these needs met. But the thing is that when the manager comes up to her and says, EJ, I'm cutting your shift on Friday because I'm cutting a shift on everybody's schedule because business is down, she goes into panic mode. And the reason she goes into panic mode is because of this. She feels that these needs are not going to be met, and she becomes very negative. Why are you cutting my shift? All right, and that's something that she's had to address. Don't become negative when a shift is cut, because you'll end up getting all your shifts cut if you don't be careful about that. But the moral of this story is this: at 74 years old, she no longer needs to have those needs met. But when her psyche tells her you're in danger because of this, she communicates in a negative fashion. And that's what ends up happening for people as adults. And so why are some people so negative? They did not have their needs met as children, and that manifests itself into adulthood. People who did not belong, love and belonging, who were the outcast of the group, who did not have any connections. As adults, again, they're the ones who are clingy for the most part and needing to establish friendships at work. Esteem, the kids who did not have their pats on the back. Now these are, people our age. The younger generation gets a lot of pats on the back, from my understanding, get a trophy for just showing up. So hopefully they won't be the needy adults as children, those needy adults. There we go. So the thing is that if you have people walking around going, look at me, look what I did, look at me, aren't I fabulous in every way? That's those kids. All right. And I used to work with a person like that. Aren't I fabulous in every way? And I thought, wow, you didn't get your pats on the back as a child, did you? You really did not. And then self-actualization, and that's going beyond and more than you had anticipated that you could ever achieve, taking it up to the next level. And you can see at the very top of that word, or maybe you can't see, but the very top of that, the word at the top of that pyramid is the word morality. And as children, that's one of the first things we learn, isn't it? That's not fair. And so if you have people walking around all the time, that's not fair, chances are that need was not met as a child. So why are some people so negative? They've got a lot of baggage going on from their childhood. And we're just grown-up children, and it all comes out regardless of how educated and professional we are. I'm going to fast forward through those because I just talked about them. So here's need deprivation in action. Someone who is promoted into a supervisory position who did not have self-esteem needs met as a child. I accept a supervisory position, and my own unmet need for esteem causes me to be critical, demanding, and insensitive toward those with whom I work. I didn't get my pats on the back, so neither will you. And I saw this in action. Somebody that I know who did not get his pats on the back as a child finally got promoted into a supervisory position. At his first staff meeting, he rolled out a new policy, and he said, and if you don't follow the policy, I will kick your ass. And I thought, you've waited your whole entire life to say that, haven't you? And you finally got to say it, didn't you? You really feel good about yourself, don't you? And he promptly got demoted out of that supervisory position as a result of that. By the way, one of the things about people who are promoted into supervisory positions who are not prepared for them because they do not have the level of confidence that they need to be in a supervisory position often turn into bullies. And one of the things, there's lots of talk about bullying. Children, they have discovered, are bullies because they have power. It's not because they don't feel good about themselves for the most part. It's because they want to inflict power on other people. But what scientists have discovered is that when people become adults and they don't feel good about themselves and they're promoted into a position that they feel they cannot handle because they do not have the self-confidence, they often turn into bullies as well. So if you have some folks in supervisory positions who exhibit that kind of behavior, that could be a reason why. Why else are people so negative? Their upbringing. All right, so once again, we got to blame the parents. Parents who express negative emotions toward their infants or handle them roughly may be inadvertently harming their baby's psyche. This type of negative parenting results in aggressive, defiant kindergartners and even affects adult behavior. So I have a niece, who is a school teacher, and while she was in training, she was working at a preschool, and she informed us that they could not tell the children no, that they had to redirect them. So you might have heard of this kind of teaching. So if a child is climbing up a fence, instead of saying get down off that fence or no, you should not be climbing that fence, they would say, might there be something else you could be doing that would be productive with your time? And when she told us that, I thought that was the biggest bunch of hooey I had ever heard. That's what's wrong with these kids these days. They've never been told no. Until I saw this. Until I did the research on the impact of the word no and how it releases stress hormones in our bodies. And I thought, all right, maybe there is something to that. Maybe the redirect as opposed to the is the right way to do it after all. Medical reasons. So I don't know if you're familiar with Grumpy Kitty or not. Grumpy Cat is an internet sensation. So now you know that I spend all my time surfing the internet looking at cat pictures. But he actually has a form of feline dwarfism, and that's what makes the little corners of his mouth go down. So the reason I put Grumpy Cat up there is because he has a medical condition, and that's why some people are so negative, because of medical conditions. There are all sorts of anxiety disorders, and you may think, yeah, everybody's got an anxiety disorder. I believe that's probably true. And people who have anxiety disorders, such as obsessive compulsive disorder, anxious people, that comes across in their behavior and their communication. And so OCD is thrown around a lot, and a lot of people say, you know, I've got to have all of my files color-coded, and you know, I'm real OCD about that. So people toss around the term a lot, but I know people who have been diagnosed with it by a psychiatrist on medication for it, and I know that the behavior that is exhibited as a result of this underlying anxiety of this disorder is negative sometimes, and it comes across as very negative to other people. So medical conditions is one reason that people are negative. Other medical conditions, you know, when you don't feel well, you come across as a negative person. People are experiencing going through cancer and all sorts of traumatic illnesses. Of course they're going to be negative while they're going through that stuff. But for some people, it's there all the time. And why else are people so negative? Life events. And this is the biggest cause of anxiety and depression, what people experience in their life. And the best example I've got for you is people who go away to serve in the armed forces and see some pretty nasty stuff and then come back and cannot integrate right back into society. So many people are killing themselves after serving in the military because of what they experienced, and they can't handle it. And so life events, so think of the things that people that you work with have gone through, the traumatic life experiences that they've had, and why they might be negative as a result of that. Why else are people so negative? They're friends. So I love this cartoon. If you were my husband, I'd poison your coffee. If you were my wife, I'd drink it. So you've got to be careful who you hang out with. And if you are not yet married or have gotten into a committed relationship, be careful who you get into one with, all right? They profoundly impact you and your outlook on life. So the more friends you have that are content with their lives, the more likely you are to become content. The more friends you have that are discontent, the more likely you are to become discontent. Why? Because negativity is like a disease. It is contagious. And people infect other people with it. And so that's one of the things, if you take nothing else from this class, take this, that if somebody's being negative around you, they are infecting you. Get away. All right, don't allow it to become part of who you are. Sadness is twice as infectious as happiness. Be careful who you hang around with. Why so negative? Well, this is maybe something that you can do about. Some people are negative because they have an excessive workload. So we had lots of downsizing, and so now people are upsizing again, which is good. But during the downsizing, the people who were left over get to do 2 jobs now instead of 1 job, or 3 jobs now instead of 1 job. So an excessive workload makes people negative. Concerns about management's ability to lead. And I believe this one, yeah, we've got some laughter, you believe it too. Yeah, people, let me back up. In my experience in working with people at the top of the food chain in organizations, there are very few people at the top of the food chain that really know what they're doing and can lead the show competently. And so the people who are beneath them looking at that going, this is scary that the person running the show really doesn't know what he or she's doing. Of course people are going to be negative as a result of that, especially if they think they're doing a bad job at it. Anxiety about job, income, retirement security. I don't know if anyone has a 401k that has anything in it anymore, but that's pretty dang scary. Lack of challenge at work. So this is one of the things that I see also. People who are at mundane jobs and they just, they hate it because they're not challenged. And then insufficient recognition. Now I've got a whole little program on recognition programs and why recognition programs for the most part don't work. And one of the reasons for that is because it's a one-size-fits-all. We'd like to recognize everyone for the great job you've done. So here's a coffee mug with the company logo on it. You're good for another year, see you later. All right, that stuff doesn't work. And so there's other stuff that does work, but that's one of the things is that lots of companies say we've got an employee recognition program at our workplace. Yeah, but if it's a one-size-fits-all, especially if you're giving out merchandise with the company logo on it, does anybody want merchandise with the company logo on it? I don't. All right, so hope that's not what I'm getting. All right. So those are some reasons that people are negative, and I'm sure there's more, but that's all we've got time to discuss. So why is negativity bad for individuals? Because it makes things worse than they really are. Okay, so if people are walking around talking doom and gloom all the time and woe is me and the world's going to end and we're all going to hell, it's worse than it actually is. And so that's one of the problems with it. It becomes habitual. If you have a habit like smoking, you know how difficult it is to break habits. And I had a guy say, no, it's not difficult. I've quit smoking hundreds of times. Okay, yeah. Thanks for getting the joke. So the thing is that once something is a habit, it is tough to get out of that habit. And so that's one of the problems. You get what you're focused on. And so negativity is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're walking around going, oh, it's going to be awful, you're exactly right. That's what it's going to be. It leads to one-downmanship, which goes something like this. Oh, my supervisor's awful. You think your supervisor's awful. My supervisor's awful. All right, so then the party keeps going. It makes people despondent. And the reason it makes people despondent is because of this. Negativity hits a certain part of your brain, and when your brain is focusing on the negativity, the creativity part of your brain cannot function. All right, so focusing on the negativity stuff shuts down other parts of the brain. And focusing on that negativity releases stress chemicals in your body, as we've already talked about, and it makes you feel bad. And so that's why people get despondent, is because if you do not have any hope, then you might as well give it up, because nothing's going to get better. It kills innovation. Again, the creativity part of the brain is not functioning when the negativity part of the brain is in full force. And so forget about anybody coming up with some good ideas. And it promotes bad relationships. Why? Because if people are engaged in negative behavior, then they are not making nice with everybody else, right? So this is one of the things, and we've got a lot of women in the room, and so guys, you can opt out of this for a second. And I'm just going to talk mostly to the ladies here. This is one of the things that women have a tendency to do. When we do not like somebody because she thinks she's better than us or something, we will tear her apart for the most part, all right? And so we'll get with our friend Joyce and we'll talk smack about whoever we need to talk about with Joyce, and then with everybody else on this side of the room. In the meantime, whoever I'm mad at over here is gathering her allies and talking about me over there. And now, if we ever need to come to war, we're prepared because we've got our allies on both sides, okay? So I don't want to denigrate women because I am one, but it is because I am one that I know that this happens. And I know that it happens because a lot of gender communication research says that it happens. And there's very good biological reasons that it happens. It goes back to the survival thing again. If I feel I'm being attacked by somebody, I've got to survive, and I've got to gather my troops in case I must go to war. But you cannot allow that to happen in the workplace, because it destroys things. It destroys relationships, it destroys creativity, innovation, productivity. It leads to absenteeism, it leads to turnover. You just cannot allow that to happen. And you certainly can't engage in it. And when you're in a management position or in HR, those of you who are in HR, you know that you have to set the example all the time. And that's tough, I know, being in HR, and when I was HR manager of a company before coming here. And when people try to tear you down, it's tough to rise to a higher level and not stoop to what's going on. But you just can't, because if you do, then you're the one who looks like an idiot. All right, why is negativity bad for organizations? I've told you, but let's do it again. Those who engage in negative behaviors, and by negative behaviors, I'm talking about people who disparage others. So these are the people who put people down. And it might be in a nice little joking manner, but they're putting people down. And so those are disparagers. Don't allow it to happen. People who are disagreeable, gloomy, pessimistic, hostile, or just downright unpleasant cost employers $3 billion annually. How does it cost so much money? We've talked about it. Because negativity kills motivation, innovation, creativity, productivity, happiness, and leads to higher turnover and higher absenteeism. So that's why the cost is a tangible cost. All right, so why is positivity good for individuals? And look at that picture up there. Okay, so most of you who looked at it put a smile on your face. And those of you who didn't are the negative people in the room that we need to talk about, all right? So, yeah, so the thing is, what is it about smiling? What is it about looking at a smiling picture? It makes you smile, for the most part. And that's one of the things that is so important. Now, smiling has physiological impact in our body. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when I am not smiling, I feel it. And I'll go, why am I not feeling good? Oh, it's because I'm not smiling, that's why. And I put a big smile on my face, yeah. So might look a little strange, but I can feel the impact of walking around, especially because the corners of my mouth droop down like grumpy kitties. Anyway, and then the older I get, the jowlier I'm getting, and so it's really going down. So that's one of the things. The older you get, the more you need to smile, because when we get older and we don't smile, we really don't look very pretty at all. So that's one of the reasons to smile too. All right, so positive people live longer. Why do they live longer? Because they don't have all that stress stuff going on. Stress kills your body. They're healthier. Why? Because they don't have all that stress stuff going on. Stress kills your body. I'm doing a little conflict mediation with a group of ladies, and it's all back to they talking smack about each other, gathering allies. I'm not talking to you anymore ever again, even though I have to work with you, all that stuff. So I'm doing a little conflict mediation with this group of ladies. And one of the ladies, after our session last week, met with me privately to talk about how stressful all of this has been, and she was sobbing, more so than I thought was necessary for the situation, but it was because she had held it in. I'm really sympathetic. She had held it in. That's why I'm good at conflict mediation. Snap out of it. She had held it in for so long, she was now on anti-anxiety medication. Yes, you might be one of those people. You don't confront people, you just hold it all in your gut and let it destroy you in there. So yeah, that's what's happening. So people who are not engaged in that kind of behavior live longer because it's not wreaking havoc on their bodies. They have more friends. Why? People like to be around them. They enjoy life more. Why? Because they see life through rose-colored glasses. I had a client one time, I was meeting for the first time and met her, and she looked at me and she said, "My God, you're gorgeous." I went, "Well, thank you." This was 20 years ago, so it could have been. And so I led her through the office, and we had this fake tree. I thought it was the most hideous-looking fake tree I'd ever seen. And she looked at the tree and she went, "That's gorgeous." And I went, "Oh, I see. Everything is gorgeous in your world. That's how that works. But isn't that a nice world to live in?" Yeah. What? Never mind. All right. And they're more successful at work. Why are positive people more successful at work? Well, I tell you, from somebody who's somewhat high in the food chain now, you want them to work for you. The people are going, nah. You don't want them around. Get out. All right, it's the people who say, yes, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I can. Yes, we should. Yes. Those are the people you want around. That's why they're more successful at work. That's why they promote at work, because yes, yes, I want that promotion. Yes, I can do this. Yes. All right, so that's what we want to say is yes instead of no. Why is positivity good for organizations? Happier employees are more productive, more innovative, and create a more attractive work environment. Positive people create a more attractive work environment. So we're prettier when we smile, we've already determined that. But think about the places that you go into, such as your drugstore, your grocery store, your clothing store, all those types of places, and who is on behind that counter or whatever, and the look that they have on their face, and the impression that they give to you. And think about where you like to shop because of that. And where you do not shop, if you're like me, I do not shop at certain places because I get just bleh. And there's one drugstore in particular, I won't name it, but the people that work there are just, they're not negative necessarily, they're just bleh. And when I make my purchase, they go, "Have a nice day." Okay, I don't believe they want me to have a nice day. And so that's the thing, positive people generate business. And that's why you have to be very careful who is on the front line of answering your phones and when people come into your workplace and that kind of thing. I called a doctor's office or a nutritionist's office, and I said, "I'd like to make an appointment." And the woman said, "We don't have one here, so we don't have nobody who can help you right now." And I said, "You don't have nobody who can help me right now?" She didn't get it. But anyway, I'm not going to do business with you. Be very careful who is answering your phones and who is the first person behind the counter that people see. They can generate business or they can turn away business. All right, so signs that you're the negative person in the room. We're all negative sometimes. But if you can count check, 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 check to a bunch of these, then you might need to do a little self-assessment. Okay, so you frequently complain about things. Are you the complainer? Or are you the one who drives here and goes, "Oh, I can't believe they're doing road work right in front of where I have to go, and there's no parking available as usual, and look what they serve us for lunch today, oh my God, and we're getting started late." And are you that person? All right, if you are, don't fill out the evaluation at the end of the session, okay? Your mind is usually tuned to noticing the flaws in things. Now, one of the things I do is personality profiles. I love personality profiles, and my favorite is Myers-Briggs. And Myers-Briggs says that you like this or you like that, you prefer this, you prefer that. And some people are thinkers and some people are feelers. And the thinkers are really good at noticing flaws and pointing them out to other people. All right, that's their talent. The feelers are people who don't see the flaws, and even if they do, they're not going to tell you. Okay, so that's their talent. All right, so if you're a thinker, and I'm really good at noticing flaws and pointing them out in public settings, which does not endear you to anybody. So if you do that, you're the negative person in the room. Okay, it's okay to spot flaws. That's perfectly fine. That might be your talent, as a matter of fact. It's the next bullet point. Even small flaws in something will ruin it for you. So it's okay to spot them, but now if you're going, oh, forget it. This is all ruined as a result of this, then you might be a little too negative. All right, and so I'm very good at spotting flaws, and I've had to work against everything's ruined as a result of this. Okay, so including my wedding day. Walked in and went, okay, nobody can hear the violins playing, I'm out of here. Okay, you don't get to leave, you're the bride, come back. All right, so don't let small flaws ruin things for you, all right? If someone suggests something, you're really quick to point out why it won't work. Is that you? Are you that person? Won't work. Tried it. What didn't work? Won't work. Here's 1,000 reasons why it's not going to work. All right? If you see a flaw in something, you just have to speak up about it. You feel a little rush like you're winning points when you do it. And if you feel that way, you did not get enough pats on the back as a child, okay? You got to go, look, there was this mistake, and I'm the one who caught it. That was me. I caught the mistake. All right, if you're that person, you're too negative. If other people are talking about the positive aspects of something, you have the urge to say, yeah, but. And so if you're the yeah, but person, then chances are you're too negative. Sometimes you feel gleeful when you're being negative with someone or tearing someone or something else down. All right, so we've already talked about the fact that ladies, we're all guilty of this to a certain degree. Don't do it. Don't do it at work anyway, all right? If you're mad at your coworker, don't talk to the other coworkers about how you hate your coworker. Call your mom and tell your mom. And if you can't call your mom, call my mom. She'd be happy to talk to you, okay? She really would. So if you want her number after class, I'll give it to you. All right. Certain aspects of the world get under your skin, and you have to rant about them to anyone who will listen. So politics kind of does this to people sometimes, all right, and that's why we're not supposed to talk about politics. So I'm going to tell you a little story about an aunt of mine a little bit later on, but this is her thing. She's got to rant and rant and rant about politics at family get-togethers, which I don't attend family get-togethers anymore. If something is going well, you've got a dozen reasons why it actually is bad, and you think positive people are naive, have low standards, and are impressed too easily. So I do one-on-one coaching with folks. I have employers who send usually people in supervisory positions to me for coaching so I can fix them. And one guy was sent to me who was too negative, and that was just saying nobody wanted to work with him. Everything out of his mouth was negative, negative, negative. And one of the problems was that he communicated primarily through email. He wouldn't talk to people face to face, and you know how well email works in communicating, right? And so I said to him, let's do some positive exercises. So instead of telling me everything that's wrong about your job, tell me everything that's right. And he went, wow, I'm a realist, okay? And all this positivity stuff is for people who don't understand what's really going on in the world. That's that person, okay? They call themselves a realist, and they think people who like to put a positive spin on life are just silly and stupid. So here's how to stop the negativity, and we all need to stop the negativity to a certain degree. We are all negative sometimes, and some of us more than others. So first of all, stop thinking in extremes. Rather than just feeling a little nervous about a speech, do you think, I'm going to die out there, they're going to hate me? So do you over-exaggerate situations that you think might turn out bad, but it's going to be awful, the worst thing that ever happened? Stop overgeneralizing the negative. If someone turns down your business proposal, do you think, I'm a failure and nothing good ever happens to me? All right, that's overgeneralizing. Don't minimize the positive. When something good happens, do you say, oh, sure, that worked out, but things usually don't? Is that you? All right. Stop mind reading. When somebody compliments you, do you think he only said that to make me feel better? He doesn't really mean it. Now, this is one of the things I want to interject here, is that we need information. And we live in an information age where we constantly are getting information, whether it's good, bad information, it's indifferent. We're constantly getting it. And the thing is that when people do not have information, they will make stuff up. And that's one of the reasons it's so important to provide information about why things are happening. We're making this change for the following reasons. We're implementing this policy for the following reasons. Explaining why things happen, because when you don't explain things, there's a void and people will fill the void. And I tell you, the missing Malaysian airline is a perfect example of that, okay? So they're thinking now that the airline went down in the Indian Ocean, as airlines sometimes do. But what are all the theories that have come up about this missing airline? Aliens abducted it, was one, I kid you not. It went into the Bermuda Triangle, two. So terrorism and all of these stuff, terrorists possibly could have happened, but really aliens abducted it? I don't think so. So the thing is that people need to fill the void. They don't know what's happening. They need to know why it's happening, so they'll make up stories. So this is the thing that we do. When we don't know what's happening, we'll make up story. Don't make up the story, okay? Just accept the fact, I don't know why this is happening. Stop taking all the responsibility unless it really is your fault. But are you the martyr of the group? Are you the one, oh, it's all my fault, even when it wasn't all your fault? Stop forcing your rules on life. So we all have rules on life, and a lot of times we don't even know we have rules. We just think everything is supposed to happen this way, everybody's supposed to do this. So I asked people in one workshop, what are your rules for life? And I had one guy who said, everyone is supposed to use their blinker. And I said, and what happens when people don't use their blinker? And he said, I feel disrespected and I'm upset. Okay, that's way out of whack. You're not really that important, okay? People aren't trying to disrespect you by not using their blinker. So this is the thing, is that we have rules on how people are supposed to act, and when they don't act that way, we become offended or hurt or what have you. And trust me, most people are not playing by the same rules. So if you stop forcing your rules on people, then that should make life a little easier for you. Stop making stuff up and believing it. Do you create negative reasons for why things happened or imagine negative outcomes for most things? Worst case scenario, the world's going to end, we're all going to die. All right, and so when people they automatically go to the worst case scenario. That's what this is talking about. Don't create this whole reality that probably will not happen. Think positively instead. So, positive words and thoughts propel the motivational centers of the brain into action. So remember when I said you're all in this negative mode and the negativity is churning, the part of the brain that is creative cannot function. And when you think positive thoughts, it kicks it into gear. And that's one way to get yourself out of a negative hamster wheel, as I'll explain in just a moment. Okay, so positive words. If you want to develop lifelong satisfaction, you should regularly engage in positive thinking about yourself, share your happiest events with others, and savor every positive experience in your life. And some people even like to write them down at the end of the day, which is an exercise I gave Mr. Negativity that he poo-pooed. At the end of the day, write down all these positive things that happened to you right before you go to bed. Now, isn't that a wonderful way to go to bed? I know, you can have that, I give that to you. As opposed to laying there and stewing about all of the stuff that you're upset about. Are you gonna get any sleep that way? I don't think so. So let me show you something that I discovered after I put this presentation together. Let's go back. Okay, so I'm encouraging you to be positive by telling you the following. Stop, stop, don't, stop, 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 stop. And when I realized that, I went, oh, I need to change that up. And then I thought, no, I don't. Because how did you feel when I was telling you to stop, 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 don't, stop, stop, stop? Compared to how you feel when you look at that. Do any of you have a reaction at all? If you don't, you're the negative person in the room. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about, is that words create our reality. And when we're saying stop, 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 don't, then we don't want to be on the receiving end of that. But when we encourage people, use positive words and thoughts, motivational centers of the brain, lifelong satisfaction, positive thinking, happiest events, every positive aspect of your life. Doesn't that feel better? So, and if you're not nodding your head, then I know inside you feel it feels better. All right. So, think positively. To overcome our neural bias for negativity, we must repetitiously and consciously generate as many positive thoughts as we can. And research says it's 5. For every negative thought you have, 5 positive thoughts are required to overcome that negative thought. For every negative statement you make, 5 positive statements are required to overcome that negativity inside your brain. So I want to give you a demonstration. I told you I have an aunt who rants on about politics at family get-togethers. And she's usually ranting at me. Our political philosophies differ, and she knows it. And so she's ranting on and on. Now, this used to be my favorite aunt, And so I would just be nice, not my normal self, but just be nice and kind of, okay, fine. And so finally, I'd had enough at a family get-together, and I said to her, do you talk to everyone about this stuff, or is it just me? And she said, it's just you. And I said, why? And she said, because I know our political philosophies differ, and I just like to you. To which I said some really negative stuff to her and then left, vowing I'd never go back to another family get-together. So I'm on the way home, and I'm at home, and I'm stewing. And I call this the hamster wheel of negativity. You know, you get on that wheel and you're thinking the same thoughts over and over and over, and you cannot get off that wheel. And I just felt I was stewing in this negativity. And I had just put this presentation together. And I said, Robin, practice what you're about to preach to other people. Got to say 5 positive things about your aunt. So I did. So this is what I came up with. Number 1, when my grandmother was dying, and my grandfather had already passed, my aunt left her home to move into my grandmother's home so she could take care of her during the hospice transition and the death transition. She moved out of her home to take care of my grandmother. Nobody else was doing that. She's the one who did that. Number 2, she's raising her granddaughter, who's about 7 years old and is a special needs child. Now, my aunt's in her early 70s. So being in your early 70s and working full-time and raising your 7-year-old grandchild who has special needs, and she's doing a pretty fabulous job at it too. Number 3, when I was younger, I spent a lot of time with her, and one of the reasons that I did is because I felt very safe and secure with her. She was always very positive, and I loved that positivity. And we'd watch old movies together, and those are some of the best memories that I have as a child. Number 4, when we were shopping one time, she bought me a jewelry box that I had spied with a little ballerina on it. This was last year. And needed that jewelry box. It wasn't last year. But I needed that jewelry box. And she bought me the jewelry box. Now, I'm not her kid. And not only that, she doesn't have money to be spending on her niece, on her little jewelry box with the ballerina that she has to have. But she bought it for me because she loved me. And number 5, last year I saw her give a compliment to my father, and it was so genuine and sincere and made my father light up, which made me light up. So how do we feel about my aunt now? Yeah, can we forgive the I think we can. So 5 positive thoughts to overcome the negative thought. And if you're in a supervisory or management position or in HR and somebody complains, say, okay, drop and give me 5. 5 positive statements now. All right, so here's how to create a positive working environment. First of all, lead by example. Don't be telling people to be positive and you're not positive, all right? Put your little smile on your face and walk around saying positive things to people, and that will let people know, oh, that's what we're supposed to do around here. That's what we're supposed to do, okay? So leading by example. Increase the ability of input at all levels. So one of the things that makes people unhappy is they feel they're not being heard. No one asks for their opinion. No one cares about their opinion. Nobody does anything with their opinions. And so increase the level of input so people can be heard and they have the ability to voice their opinions. Provide responses to employee concerns in a timely manner. So this is one of the things that makes people negative also, is that I told HR or I told my supervisor, and now I don't know what happened. It was a month ago. I have no idea if anything ever happened. Okay, so get back to people and let them know what's going on with suggestions or ideas or complaints that they have made to you. Treat people with fairness and consistency. Now this one's a huge one. People become negative because they think there's favoritism going on. And why is there favoritism going on? Because people in supervisory positions are friends with some of their subordinates, but not all of their subordinates. And how many supervisors have told me, well, yes, but we can separate our friendship outside of work and at work? No, you can't. All right, because you're talking more to your friend, you're laughing more with your friend, you're sharing your personal stories with your friend, and in the meantime, people who aren't your friends are watching that, and it has an impact on them. And so be very careful about that. Do not use the shotgun effect to address issues. So this is one of my favorite pieces of information or suggestions to supervisors. If you have someone who's doing something, do not gather everyone together and say we all need, say somebody's late all the time, but you don't say anything to them, you gather everybody together, you go, we all need to be to work on time. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. All right, that doesn't address the issue, or even better yet, sending out in an email. We all need to be to work on time, just a friendly reminder, okay, see you later. Now that doesn't work, number one, because the person who needs to hear it goes, you guys aren't coming to work on time? What's happening? Why aren't you coming to work on time? And then everybody who comes to work on time is going, why are you talking to me? Now I'm negative because I'm being chastised for doing something that I don't do. Okay? Also, another thing that makes people negative is when the person who's always late is never talked to, because the supervisor hates confrontation. So make sure you don't do that. Explain your actions, decisions, and new policies to all. So we've talked about that. If people don't know why we have this change or this policy or that's happening or whatever, they'll make it up. And usually it's much worse than the actual truth. Give everyone access to training. Okay, this is not my suggestion. This is researchers' suggestion, okay? Not trying to sell you anything here. But especially people who are lower on the food chain want to progress, and giving them opportunities to do so. And you don't have to have somebody from the outside come in and do it. Make people who really know how to do a job teach other people to do a job. And engage employees to be part of the strategic planning process, have input into the mission, vision, values, and goals of the organization. And maybe your mission statement has been up for 20 years, and maybe you don't know what the vision is. But everybody can have individual goals, and let them be part of their individual goal setting as opposed to you telling them what their goals will be. And that will improve their morale tremendously. All right, now, if you do have somebody that you need to talk to one-on-one about their negative behavior, I've got a little format for you. I love little formats. So first of all, you're going to meet privately with the employee and tell them about the negative behavior that you have observed or that you've heard about. Ask them what's happening, what's causing this negativity. And if they say something like, well, I don't like the fact that Joe got a promotion and I thought I was going to get that promotion, then the conversation goes a different way. But if they say, well, this is who I am, then it goes to the next step. By the way, the National Labor Relations Board just put out an opinion that said they do not like employers to have policies that say no negativity or gossiping in the workplace. You don't get to have those policies in place because they're afraid that that will prevent people from talking about the bad things about their job that could lead to union activity. So don't go back and make it a policy, no more negativity in the workplace. All right, don't do that because that will cause you problems. All right, next, explain the impact of the negative behavior on others and the need for change. Create and agree on some strategies, and then follow up. And this is one of the areas that people sometimes forget, is to go back and say, how's it going? How are you doing? So I put it into dialogue, and I like to use myself as the recipient of coaching sessions because it amuses me. So this is what you could say to the employee. Robin, I want to talk to you about something that's concerning me. I don't know if you are aware of this, but you frequently make disparaging remarks about your coworkers. For example, in our staff meeting yesterday, you told Steve that his degree would mean something if he had gone to a real college. You told Don that the 1980s called and they want his suit back. And you mimicked the way Sally talks by saying the word like at the beginning of every sentence. And that was in just one meeting. Now, the thing is I got very specific here, and this is what you need to do with folks. Don't go and say, you can't be so negative. All right, that's not it. They don't know they're being negative. Okay, this scenario came very easily to me. I could have easily made these remarks about people in a staff meeting, and so people need to point out that's negative behavior that makes people not like you. Okay, so you might want to know that. All right, so here we're continuing with the coaching session. Are you upset with your coworkers about something? No. Then you need to know that these kind of remarks are causing your coworkers to not want to work with you. And I need everyone to work together. I'm not saying you need to change your personality. I put that in there because that's what people say. Oh, so I need to change my personality. No, you just need to refrain from making fun of your coworkers. I know you can do that. Let's meet next Friday to see how your week went. Okay, so that's the little coaching session right there for you. You can just choose different names and different behaviors and you got it all set and ready to go. So, I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The words we use create the world we live in. And so when we say don't, stop, no, that kind of stuff, that creates a world that isn't inspiring people to be positive. So say yes. Address your negativity, address other people's negativity, in order to make the workplace a more positive place. And I end with this little cartoon. I don't know if you can see it. He says, the world will end tomorrow. Do you have to be so negative? The world will end tomorrow. But then again, so will your problems. So, there you go. Questions? All right, well, thanks for coming. Have a fabulous day. Oh, by the way, if you are certified SPHR or PHR, we did get a little extra credit for you. So you can, got that for you. And when you do your recertification stuff, you can put that in there and get a point for it. So thanks for coming, everybody.